Hi, my name is Tamika Alexander. I'm the Director of Outreach and the Transfer Center here at Pasadena City College. You guys are really lucky. You're in for an amazing treat. Pasadena City College has a wonderful partnership with an organization at UCLA. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the person who is the lead for this wonderful program. Her name is Cinnamon Mantley, and she's going to talk to you about the program itself, some of the perks, and the partnership that UCLA has with PCC. So without further ado, Cinnamon, take it away.
Yes, had to unmute myself. I feel like, one of my coworkers, Santiago Bernal, he's the assistant director for Center for Community College Partnerships. His favorite thing to say is that the phrase of the year is, "I'm on mute, sorry." And it's true, because we're always on mute. I feel like I'm always muted. But hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us again. My name is Cinnamon Mantley. I'm the program coordinator for Pasadena City College with the Center for Community College Partnerships. Before we get started, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We live in a crazy time with COVID and just the world is pretty insane. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to be here. It means a lot just showing up. So thank you so much. And with that being said, I'm going to show you a video. It's a bit long, but it introduces who we are as a program. It kind of gives that, it's a little more fun to watch. And if you guys have any commentary or questions about it, feel free to just put it in the chat, but we're going to get started with the video. So let me share my screen with you all. I feel like with Zoom, I don't know how many of you all have done Zoom, but it's sometimes can be a little bit tricky, but let's see. So can everyone see that okay? I hope everyone can see that all right. We're gonna scroll down and we're gonna watch this video. So please, feel free to, if you have any questions while it's going on, just put it in the chat. Without further ado, you can start it.
Right now,
Cinnamon? I'm not quite sure we can hear.
Of course, my apologies. Let me start it again. I'm sorry, everyone. Let me know if you can hear it now.
right now you may be at a community college.
Is that good?
No one sees you.
Yes, okay.
But once you go through these transfer programs and you're seen, then your invisibility becomes visible. Everyone knows who you are. You're right there with the top tier guys.
A lot of students don't feel that this is the place for them. And it's really reaching that distance that exists, not necessarily physically, but mentally.
The Center for Community College Partnerships, or as it's known, CCCP, is an academic development program focused on helping students prepare and become competitively eligible for the University of California system. Our goal is really to empower students to take ownership of their education and understand what they need to do to become a competitive applicant and to be successful.
We realize that there's a gap in the educational pipeline where first generation and students from underrepresented communities are really not transferring into the UC system, specifically to UCLA. So our program is actually based on a critical race theory framework where we recognize the institutional barriers that are placed on communities of color and for first generation students.
I'm a first generation student, high school graduate, first to graduate in my family from high school, first to go to college in my family. So I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anyone to look up to. I didn't have anyone who could kind of show me how they did it. So being a scholar, I was provided with that. I was provided with mentors. I was provided with a community that essentially was there to guide me every step of the way, the application process, the transfer process, making sure that I was doing the best that I could academically back at community college. So the different programs provide the same resources and the same information for all students. They're just tailored a little differently to accommodate the student and provide them with a unique experience based on who they are and their identity.
First and foremost, it was free. So, I mean, if you apply, the worst they can say is no. But you're living on campus for free, you're eating for free, and you're getting to sit in front of these professors for free.
We've just gotten to learn a lot about, one, the transfer student process, the college life, how to be a good student, how to go about if you have some trouble in the areas, how to go about seeking help in those areas. And just in general, like, as being a person of color in the United States and in the educational system, like, what you have been through, what you will go through, what to anticipate, and how the things that you've been through, how they can help you move forward through the educational process and through life in general, which has been really enlightening and very helpful.
They gave us workshops on how to become not only a better person, but a better student. And so I was able to incorporate those tools and use them to propel me to transfer.
You're gonna meet people, you're gonna meet actual admissions directors. You're gonna be able to talk to them about the admissions process, like the people who actually read your essays and actually look at your transcripts. To me, that's more valuable. Now, counselors at school are great and we absolutely need them, but to be able to also talk to the person that's gonna read your application and possibly even build a relationship with them, but maybe even read your personal statement in the future, that is extremely important. That's gotta be the biggest reason why I think this program for the admissions process. There's a lot of questions that are always unanswered, and here, since they are the school, you can get all the answers anywhere.
It's amazing that this program follows you through the process of transferring and giving you the tools afterwards to help you develop into an amazing college student.
You're responsible to represent your community. Like here, you being here is your community being here as well. So going back and showing them that there's something more than just that bubble right there. And then coming to any institution and being educated is definitely gonna help our community strive.
And when you're in CCCP, understand that it's a scholarship. Go back home and be proud. Like, wow, this is my first scholarship. So I don't know how many other students have already gotten scholarships before, but just, understand that it's a scholarship. This is real, and really know that your dreams are not out of reach. And this program right here is going to give you that.
As a first-generation student, as a low-income student, as a student who historically has not had access to a place like this, students feel intimidated. And it takes someone to say, come to the campus, experience the campus, feel what the campus is like. And it's really when they sit in a classroom that they start to feel like this fits me. This is a place that I can call home.
No one has a harder struggle than the next person. We just have our own struggle, but anything's possible. And this program helps make the impossible possible. It makes it tangible. It pulls everything within reach.
Let there be a willingness to learn. Let there be empowerment.
Let there be transformation.
Let there be justice.
Let there be space for those other voices.
Let there be color.
Let there be optimism.
Let there be hope.
Let there be inspiring moments.
Let there be love.
Let the invisible be visible.
Let there be power to the transfer student.
UCLA is accessible. There's no one at the gate saying you can't come here. The only gates that exist oftentimes are the gates that we put in our own minds.
So I hope you all enjoyed that video. Tamika, I'm going to let you take it away really quick.
So briefly, we've got our wonderful dean who has joined us, who's stopped in just for a moment. But again, if he could just speak to you all and just talk about our wonderful relationship and partnership that we have with UCLA and how PCC is here to support you with whatever transfer goal you may have. So without further ado, Armando Duran.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. Indeed, Tamika and her team, they do wonderful work in the Transfer Center. And I love the video because they highlight some of the work that we do and some of the things that we emphasize, and that is providing you with tools, right? And opportunities to meet people directly from the universities. The universities love you. Tamika and I, we spent, I think more than 10 years working at a 4-year university before working at Pasadena City College. And we love transfer students, in part because you've already demonstrated the ability to complete the first 2 years of college work. So keep that in mind. I noticed in the video also there was a student named Vanessa. She talked about representing your community, your family. At its core, always use that as that motivator, right? If there are those moments where you're tired, you might be a little bit frustrated. Always think of your family, think of the community, think about always paying it forward, and the ability of you being in a better position to do that once you complete your certificate and or transfer degree. So again, keep that in mind. We have an awesome team in the Transfer Center, even when we're remote, who will be here throughout your educational journey to support you in your transfer partner process. And again, to our partners at UCLA and the other universities, we thank them for their continued support of our students. So thank you, everyone, and good luck to you. Stay safe.
Great. Thank you, Dean Duran. And Cinnamon, you can take it away. All right, take care.
Thank you so much, Tamika and Dean Duran. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today. And just again, to those of you who are just joining us, we just showed a video on CCCP on what we do. So CCCP is short for Center for Community College Partnerships. We're housed at UCLA. Really quickly, I want to do something a little interactive. So if you are able to, please go to mentee.com and use this code and answer this question. What do you think of when you think of social justice? So an example of social justice could be equity, Martin Luther King, civil rights movement, the DACA movement. So what do you think of when you think of social justice? So if you could just log on and really quickly put up your answers, it's going to create a really cool word cloud, which you'll all see once we have a few responses. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. So just put like a word or a phrase, something that you think of when you think of social justice. So go to mentee.com, and on the top it says use the code 9377794. Equality, that's a good one. Opportunity, human rights, okay. These are all really good. These are good so far. Community, I like that. Okay, I like that a lot. Power, yep. Justice, so affordable housing, trust, yes. Social safety nets, yes, 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 yes. Affordable housing, especially living in LA, living in Pasadena, should be a right, but living an interesting time. Let me see if there's some I haven't read. Access, yes, access 100%. And I think access can be linked to housing, education. So these are all really great. I'm going to let this stay up for just one more minute. Tolerance, freedom. Oh, okay. I like that. Struggle, serving. These are really great, you all. This is great. Stereotype, huh? That one's interesting. Tolerance, stereotype. Whoever wrote stereotype, if you feel comfortable, do you feel comfortable with sharing why stereotype? That's a very interesting one. If whoever wrote it feels comfortable. If not, it's totally okay. You can also put it in the chat, but stereotype, that's interesting.
I just feel like there's a lot of stereotypes that our society follows, especially when it comes to social justice. And right now we're in a time where we're trying to break apart from these stereotypes. I don't know, that's just something along those lines.
Yeah, thank you so much for feeling safe to share that. And I want to just say too that this is a safe space. So if you all feel at any time that what you're saying doesn't make sense, it totally makes sense, and just know this is a safe space and this is a space to discuss. But thank you all for participating. I'm going to go back to our website, but this is really great. And I just want to say that everything you've said is so valid. And and it ties to what we do here at CCCP. So the mission for the Center for Community College Partnerships is to work with students who are underserved, underrepresented, and get them into a university. So you do not have to go to UCLA. We are housed at UCLA, but it is not a requirement. We have students who go to CSULA. We have students who go to Harvard. We have students who go to Caltech. So it's not a requirement to go to UCLA, but granted, we are one of our missions is to get more students into the UC, because we do see a very limited number of students who are underrepresented and underserved in these institutions. I have one of my coworkers and dear friends, Ariel Rosemond's on the call as well. Did you want to add anything to that before I move on?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel. I actually work at the Transfer Center, and I also worked at CCCP. I'm actually a product of PCC, so I transferred from PCC to UCLA, and I was actually a student also in CCCP. So yeah, like Cinnamon was talking about, CCCP is grounded in social justice. That's their framework. They also use the framework of critical race theory. Just something really quick about critical race theory, if you all don't know. It's a theoretical framework. It was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, and it is used to evaluate the impacts of race and racism in society and institutions and systems like this, and how it oppresses underrepresented, underserved communities, like a lot of the communities that we have at our community colleges. And yeah, like I said, that's what CCCP is grounded in. So they have a lot of different programs specifically for students in underrepresented categories. And Cinnamon will probably talk about that a little bit later, but it's a great program. She'll tell you. But yeah, hello, nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much. And those were really great points. So when they asked me and they asked us to present at this conference, I was like, oh, this is perfect. Social justice, that's what we're about. And as Ariel said, we are rooted in CRT. We are grounded in social justice. Everything we do at our core is social justice. But I just want to take a moment for each of you to acknowledge the social justice and just you going to school. There's so much power in you all being in the institution. A lot of these institutions were not meant for the underserved and underrepresented. So let's acknowledging that first, and acknowledging that you being here, you coming to these conferences is a huge accomplishment. So definitely give a round of applause for yourself, because you're breaking down so many barriers for so many who will come after you. So just remember that about yourself. I know social justice seems kind of like a foreign concept. It's like, oh yeah, social justice, like Martin Luther King, all these huge figures. But no, you are social justice as well, because everything you do is a fight. Everything you do is to better the institution. So I want to acknowledge that. And I do want to say really quickly as well, I didn't introduce myself properly, but I also went to Pasadena City College, transferred to UCLA. So Ariel and I both have gone to Pasadena City College. We know what it's like to transfer. We understand the struggle. So if you have any questions about that, we're always here for you. But let me jump into CCCP and the requirements. So due to COVID, and I want to thank Joyce for that question, because Joyce, you did ask me if we had requirements to join, and thank you for asking me that. So I want to jump into the requirements for CCCP. Typically during the academic year, when it's a quote normal academic year, we do have a requirement to get in. So we have students fill out an application. Once you fill out the application, and the application is a very simple process. So you have to do your transfer admission planner. So it looks like this. I'm going to go on to it really quickly, and I should still be sharing my screen, but your transfer admission planner will look like this. So we ask you to create one of these. And when you create your transfer admission planner, you're putting in all of your courses from UCL, from PCC, or for any community college that you've attended. So we ask you to create a transfer admission planner. We ask you to then go onto our website. You go into summer programs, and typically there's a list of summer programs here. You click on the summer program you're interested, and then there's like an application process. But because of COVID, everything had to change. So for this year, we had to move into a webinar series format. So this is why I was sharing the screen previously. We started the UCLA Power to the Transfer webinar series. Each webinar is targeted to a specific community. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to our webinar website, and please feel free, for anyone who has questions, please feel free to just put them in the chat. This is, again, very interactive, so I don't want to just be talking at you. Please feel free to ask questions. You can unmute yourself at any time. But this is what our webinar series website looks like. I will put this in the chat as well. So if you scroll down, it shows, so it says that the Center for Community College Partnerships will host a series of webinars that are open to any student planning to enroll in a California community college in fall 2020. So, and the goal is for us to provide resources and tools to help you with that process. If you scroll down, we have each webinar is from 10:30 to noon, and then 2 to 3:30. We highly recommend you do the transfer admission planner. So just again, as a reminder, the transfer admission planner is where you put in your classes. And I just really quickly want to emphasize the importance of the transfer admission planner, because you put in all your classes from PCC and it calculates your UC GPA. And the reason why it's important to do that is because when you do the UC application, you don't have to put in your courses again. So that's, to me, as someone who is like very much a procrastinator, being able to just have my classes automatically go into my application without having to redo it is a huge bonus. And trust me, during application season, you're going to want to focus on those personal insight questions because they're super important. So thinking about having to import all your classes is probably not the thing you want to think about. So having a transfer admission planner is really important. And then we also recommend that you read Whose Culture Has Capital, and that is talking about critical race theory, as Ariel mentioned earlier, and about community cultural wealth. So this is a great article to read, and it's what we base our program on as well. So this is these are the programs that we hosted so far, the webinars we've hosted. So we did a first generation experience, men of color, formerly incarcerated, system impacted, undocumented, diverse Asian American, parenting student, the Chicanx Latinx, African American Black experience, and the foster youth, former foster youth. So coming up, we have the STEM experience. So for any students who are STEM majors or are interested in knowing more about STEM majors, we have this coming up. And we have the Native American and Pacific Islander experience. We also, this is not listed here, but we are going to be doing a non-traditional webinar as well. So please look out for that. But this is what we've had to do in response to COVID. Are there any questions so far about what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of information to process. So the registration process, let me see. I see there's something in the chat. What is the optimum time to join CCCP as a PCC freshman in fall 2020? I would say the best time to join CCCP is now, and joining CCCP is so different because joining CCCP is just doing one of these webinars and being plugged into the academic year. When you are a part of CCCP, you do the summer program where you live on campus, which you saw in the video. You live on campus for free and you eat in the dorms, and then you come back. And then during the fall, you'd be paired, the fall and during the academic year, you're paired with a peer mentor who you'd have to meet with 8 times during the academic year. But again, unfortunately, because of COVID, we've had to change that format, and we're still working through what the new format looks like. So I can't give you a concrete answer of what exactly the new format's gonna look like, but I can tell you that it's gonna essentially be you attending webinars, you meet with me. So I'm assigned to Pasadena City College, so you can meet with me at any time. You can ask me any questions. And also we're gonna be really emphasizing the importance of tapping into the Transfer Center, because all of the work that we do at CCCP is tied to the Transfer Center. Our partnership together is so essential. I believe Tamika mentioned it earlier, but we really do have a strong partnership with one another. So we encourage students to attend their workshops because there's They have workshops on tap. So if you have questions about transfer admission planner, or not even a workshop, but they have transfer advisors. There's different programs associated with the transfer center. So they have Transfer Bound and Clave, which Ariel is actually in charge of Transfer Bound. And they have just different projects, and they have different opportunities in the transfer center that are connected to the work we do. So we very much are, I do this, I'm like, you guys know what this means, right? We're very much connected. But Marianne, you asked, will there be more webinars this semester? So yes, there is a STEM web, and Ariel, you're like on top of it, I don't even have to, but there is the STEM webinar and the Native Pacific Islander webinar and the non-traditional. So thank you so much for that. So does anyone have any questions so far? Anything else before I show you what the application looks like for the webinars? No. So that's a great, thank you so much for asking that. It's not too late to join. And again, joining is joining one of our webinars. So I know for some of you, you're like, well, I'm not STEM and I'm not Native Pacific Islander. I honestly highly encourage you. I think sometimes we, including myself, put ourselves in this box where it's like, I can only do webinars that pertain to me or my identity. But I highly encourage you to attend one of these webinars or to wait for the non-traditional webinar, because it's going to give a different insight and different perspectives. And I think it also would just be interesting to learn about different communities as well. So if you'd like to join, I say join like this because it's so kind of complicated what joining means right now, because joining really just means joining one of our workshops. And I do want to really emphasize that we do have more workshops coming up. So it's not just STEM, Native Pacific Islander. There's non-traditional, and we're also working on yes, I'll provide an explanation for non-traditional, but there's non-traditional, and we're also working on a CRT, so critical race theory. We're working on a webinar for that, a Black Lives Matter webinar, and a few different webinars as well that pertain to social justice. So we do have plenty coming up, so don't feel like if you don't attend one of these two, you're never going to be able to join CCCP. But thank you so much for that question. And then Jordan, I will give you a brief description. So non-traditional, so what is a non-traditional student? I personally don't like that idea of non-traditional. I think traditional and non-traditional is, it can be a bit problematic, but when we say non-traditional in the education world, we mean students who are parenting students who maybe are coming back after a long pause, students who are coming, not even coming back, students who are starting school later in life. So we have plenty of students who start school in their 30s and their 40s, 50s. So this is what we mean when we say non-traditional. Ariel, am I missing any communities, non-traditional?
No, I think that also the term is sometimes kind of flexible. So it depends on who's defining it too. But yeah, that's basically the whole gist.
Yeah. And I think for our webinar that's coming up, we're going to be very much focused on when we say non-traditional experience. So our webinars so far have been panels, have been keynote speakers. So when the non-traditional webinar is going to be a panel of students who are considered non-traditional. So we'll probably have a parenting student, a student who came back to school after a long time, and a student who started school later in life. We'll have a keynote speaker who's considered non-traditional, and they'll be sharing their experiences and their stories. So that's a really great question. So I'm going to move into how to register for one of the webinars. Of course, no problem, of course. And again, feel free to ask any questions, you all. So this is the registration for the webinars. It's very easy. And again, I'm going to show you, once I go over this, I'm going to show you exactly how to get here. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, how does she do that? I'm going to show you the steps again, once we're done with this. But the registration is very simple. You put in your email address, last name, first name, date of birth, gender, of course, which is a construct, social justice. But we have different categories. We have race and ethnicity. another construct, and then zip code, phone number, and it goes further. And it honestly is very simple to fill out. It should probably, I would say at most, it would take you 15 to 20 minutes, and that's pushing it. It's very simple. There's no required essay questions or anything like that. So if you are interested in attending one of our webinars, this is how you would do it. So I'm going to quickly go over the process one more time because I know I kind of move fast. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do it step by step. So you're going to go to our website. So the UCLA Center for Community College Partnerships, and when you don't just type in CCCP, because fun fact, CCCP used to be like a Russian Soviet thing. So if you type in CCCP, you may be asked to join the Soviet Union. Don't do that. Do not join the Soviet Union. Join UCLA Center for Community College Partnerships, please. We've had students ask us like, is this you? No, it's not. Ariel has also put it in the website. So this, in the chat, not in the website. But the website's in the chat. So once you get to our website, you're gonna scroll and you're gonna see this beautiful flyer announcing our webinar series. And you read here and it says click here. So it's very simple to get to. It's right as soon as you get to the page. And then let me check if it's also, I wanna check if it's somewhere else. So again, if you go here too, it shows you how we usually do our application process, but none of this is relevant right now because we're not doing our applications. So you're just gonna click, and then when you're on here, if you for some chance forget what I'm saying, there's another option to click here to fill out the webinar. So you go to our main page, click here, and this will take you to our Power to the Transfer webinar 2020 series. And you'll come to this beautiful website, which we created like 2 months ago, and scroll down, and then you will read about what we're doing, and then you'll click on the experience. If you want to do STEM, it'll take you here, and it'll just take you to the registration. Are there any questions so far? Okay, so we have about 5 more minutes, so I want to make sure, Ariel, am I missing anything that you think that should be covered before I talk about anything else?
It's a little bit different this year, unless you wanted to talk about kind of what the peer mentors do with them, or what they would do when they're talking to a coordinator or something.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. So when, so that's great. So during the, again, normal academic year, so in-person academic year, you would meet with a peer mentor, and your peer mentor, it's not for admissions. Same with me, it's not admissions. You're asking questions about the transfer process. You're asking for help with your personal insight questions. You're getting insight from, because all of the peer mentors have transferred. So they went to a community college and they transferred to UCLA. So all of them understand what you're going through, they understand the stress of transfer, and they're there to help you with the process, find resources, scholarships, different things like that. My role is pretty similar. I mean, I do a lot of things behind the scenes, a lot of administrative things as well. But if you were to meet with me, if you were to email me, which I'll put my email in the chat, but if you were to email me, you would meet with me about anything you have questions about transfer wise, or if you have questions about anything at UCLA, or if you have anything about any questions about something at PCC. A lot of the times when students meet with me and they ask me transfer specific questions, I always direct them to the transfer center. So again, I really want to emphasize the importance of our partnership with the Transfer Center at Pasadena State College. We work closely with a lot of programs at Pasadena, MESA, PASS, different empowerment programs, EOPNS, but really the Transfer Center is where we were traditionally housed and where a lot of our information intersects. So we would direct you to speak with a transfer advisor at the Transfer Center, and they would be able to help you with any transfer specific in terms of like transfer, like 60 units, things like that. You would speak to a transfer advisor. And I also want to say that the transfer advisors are amazing. We have transfer advisors who used to work at UCLA, UCR, UC San Diego, and it's just they're all really great. So it's a great resource. And Ariel, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. So for those of you who might have attended, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago, that Transfer Center workshop. Just going back over, we do offer where you can meet with university representatives, you can meet with our transfer advisors. Like Cinnamon said, they've all worked in the university system. So we have HBCU, private independent out of state, CSU and UC advisors. We also have different workshops. So UC TAG is coming up. It's due September 30th. So you should get that in. And Cinnamon had mentioned already the UC TAP, which you would use to do your UC TAG. And we have other workshops as well. And I put the website in the chat, so you can just visit the website. And then there's little black buttons that will say meet with an advisor. We have open Zoom drop-ins and stuff, or you can join one of our prep programs like Clave, which is geared for our Latinx and Chicanx students, or Transfer Bound, which is geared for our Black African American students. And CCCP works directly and closely with us and those transfer prep programs.
Yes, and I wanted to direct everyone. So this is TAG. I don't know if anyone has like a way to raise their hand. How many of you have heard of TAG? But this is a really great program to do if you are interested in going to, so Jordan, I see you. If you are interested in going to a UC, TAG is an amazing program to consider. Personally, when I transferred, I applied to Berkeley, UCLA. I tagged Davis. So TAG is a transfer admission guarantee. All that means is that if you have the minimum requirements, so the GPA, the classes, if you have the minimum requirements, when you tag that university, you get automatically, if everything checks out, you get an automatic acceptance into that school. So it's a really great resource. I do want to say that TAG is not at all campuses. So if you see here, it shows that TAG, so if you see here, TAG is at Davis, Irvine, Merced, Riverside, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. So it's not at San Diego, UCLA, or Berkeley. I know things would be so much easier if it was at one of those schools, but it is not at one of those schools. But these are really amazing schools. Davis was one of my top choices. So when I tagged and got in, I was very excited about that. So highly recommend you all look into that. But we only have 5 more minutes, so I wanted to make sure that there's a time for you all to ask questions. Does anyone have any questions that are pressing that they want to ask? And feel free again to unmute yourself, put it in the chat. This is meant to be interactive. So any questions? About 5 more minutes.
Hi, I do have a question.
Yes, hi.
I wanted to join the Transfer Bound program, but I'm a first year right now, so I don't know if it would be like too early or like if it would be the right time to do it right now.
No, it's not too early. You can join it right now. Just send us an email. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Send an email to transferbound@pasadena.edu. Tomorrow is our orientation. So it's from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So just send me an email really quickly, Jordan, and I'll send you the registration link if you're able to join the orientation.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. And also, by the way, for everyone, there's an opportunity drawing, and I put the survey in the chat. I'm gonna put it down here again, but you can fill it out if you want to be entered into the drawing. But until then, just ask any questions that you have.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jordan, we are always looking for students to join Transfer Bound. And again, I want to say that the Transfer Center has Transfer Bound and Clave, and these are 2 empowerment programs within the Transfer Center that just another place to find community. Any other questions? And I really want to encourage you to do the survey. They did not tell me what the prize is, which makes me think it's really good because they're like, we don't want you to get jealous. So please do the survey so you can be entered into the drawing. But any other questions, again, feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, and I do want to mention that just as a tip, and this is just, Ariel and I speaking to you as students, as, we did it before, we know the transfer process. Start doing things as early as possible. So when it comes to your personal insight questions and things like this, start them early when you're about to begin the transfer process, because the personal insight questions really do take a while to do. So I just want to encourage you all to do that and start everything as early as you possibly can. So I do have a few questions that I got personally sent to me. One was sent to me. is there another way to talk with CCCP and PCC? So yes, so just my email's in the chat. So email me and we can speak about CCCP at PCC. I'm available. I can create a Zoom link and I can meet with you if you'd like to speak more about CCCP. So thank you for that question. So Katerina asked, which I love that, Katerina asked, is there another pathway to get a master's degree? Oh my gosh, that is a great question. Katerina, can you expand on that question a little bit? What do you mean by another pathway?
Hello. So yeah, I'm Katrina. So I'm asking about if I had an evaluation of my previous diploma and I'm aiming to get a master's degree, and if it's necessary to complete a TOEFL test or it's enough to get a transfer for English for completing English 1A.
Awesome. Okay, understood. So Katerina, I'm going to tell you what I tell most students. I highly recommend you meet with the transfer advisor, because that's a very, what you're saying makes sense, but it's a very long, it's kind of a long answer, and I want you to be able to sit down with someone one-on-one. So please make an appointment with the transfer advisor. Ariel will add that in the chat where you can make that appointment, because they can help you with that directly. And we have one more. So thank you so much for that question, and thank you to everyone for your questions so far. And I do want to say we're done with time, but if you are looking into pursuing a higher education degree, please do it. And again, that's something you want to start while you're at the university. So you're not just thinking about getting your BA, you're also going to think, do you want a master's? Do you want a PhD? Do you want to go to law school? So I'm personally studying to go to law school right now. So please pursue all those passions. Think about that now, because it is going to be something that you're going to wish you thought about when you're at the UC and you only have like 2 years or 3 years. But with that being said, I want to thank each and every one of you again for joining us today for this presentation. It was so wonderful getting to virtually see all of you. And I just appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any questions, I'll stick around for a few minutes, but I just wanted to thank each and every one of you on behalf of the Center for Community College Partnerships at UCLA and the PCC Transfer Center. We thank you so much for joining us.